It's conference championship week here in the NFL season, and Fantasy Spin has you covered with plenty of contests to play this weekend. Whether you're playing cash or you're playing arcade mode, tons of contests for you to play. Excuse me. And to help me break it down this week, I got Kyle Zeigler in here. We're going to break down the AFC and NFC championship games. What do you need to know? The players you need to lock in. Make sure you stick around. All of that's coming up next to help you spin to win those conference championship contests over on Fantasy Spin. As I mentioned, that is Kyle Zeigler. Find him over on X at KZ1180. So, Kyle, we're starting with the AFC Championship first. We both happen to like teams in the AFC, so we figured we would start there first. So we got the Drake May-led Patriots and the Jared Stidham-led Denver Broncos. So talk to me a little bit about this game. Who do you think wins? What are the key matchups people need to know about? If someone wants to win an AFC Championship contest on Fantasy Spin, tell them what they need to know and what they need to look out for.
Yeah, I project this Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots game to be a little bit on the low scoring side. Vegas has it at 42.5. I believe the number's probably about right. Maybe if you were to bet on the game, bet the under because, well, quarterback for the Denver Broncos is not Bo Nix. It's Jared Stidham. And I really don't know how he's going to look. Is he going to be the second coming of Nick Foles, or will he be worse than CJ Stroud and Josh Allen combined from the divisional game? We really don't know. He's just one of those guys that when we do these spins, Colby, if we don't have a quarterback on that final spin and we get Jared Stidham, we just have to live with it. It is what it is. The real question for the Denver Broncos, Colby, is how much of a downgrade are the pass catchers going to be with Jared Stidham? Sutton's a guy that I really liked during the season, and he's just been so hard to figure out as of late. And everyone really, it seems like a 1 month it's, Sutton, next month it's Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, Pat Bryant. It's kind of a roll of the dice with all those guys. But if we were to look at the Denver Broncos and we want to get contrarian on this, because that's what you want to do in these type of builds, Pat Bryant is a guy for the Denver Broncos that nobody's really going to be on as much, low owned, and he's a guy I'm willing to take a shot at if we get that opportunity. We need a guy who isn't projected to be owned by the majority, and it's just a question of will Stidham target Pat Bryant, but I think Sean Payton's going to find a way to get him involved. Payton loves, Pat Bryant, so I think he'll draw up something to get him involved. So he's a guy that, not a lot of people are looking at, but if he pops up here and we got 1 spin, 2 spins left, we might look at Pat Bryant.
Yeah, so we got 3 spins and 4 locks to use here for the AFC Championship game. And I will mention Pat Bryant was my preferred Denver receiver last week. He catches, I believe, the first 3 passes of the game, then gets concussed and leaves the game. But as we're recording this on Friday afternoon, did get a full practice in on Thursday. So barring anything crazy, he's going to be out there come Sunday. So I like Pat Bryant. And actually, there's another Denver pass catcher I kind of like with Jared Stidham, but we'll see if he comes up. So with this contest that we are doing, we have a dedicated quarterback, running back, and receiver spot that we have to fill, and then we get the 3 flex spots. So really looking at this game, Kyle, the running back position is where I'm most intrigued, and I think that's where the star power is in this game. Travion Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, RJ Harvey, 2 of those we actually got here on the board. So not the best real matchup for the running backs, but in terms of guys that are going to produce, they're probably the ones I feel the most confident in. So I really like RJ Harvey here. I think Stidham could target him out of the backfield. So would you lock in RJ Harvey? And then are we locking in Travion Henderson as well?
Yeah, I definitely want to lock in RJ Harvey. We know that J.K. Dobbins he's probably going to play in this game, but how much is he really going to play? He's been out since November 6th. I don't know how much volume he's actually going to receive. So I still like RJ Harvey as the main back there in Denver. J.K. Dobbins could, steal a goal line touchdown from us, though, because Peyton loves him too. As far as Travion Henderson, man, he's just such a wild card to me. I love him as a player, but I'm kind of out on him as a lock. He's boom or bust. I don't feel confident locking in Travion Henderson on the very first spin. Since week 17, the last 4 games, and yes, week 18 counts because they were playing for that number 1 seed. Ramondre Stevenson actually outsnapped Travion, throughout the season, 54.5% to 43.1%. And even in the passing game, Colby, It's Ramondre Stevenson. He has double the amount of routes to Henderson. Everybody's on TreVeyon Henderson, but he just feels like such a wild card here. On the first spin, I'm willing to let's just lock in RJ Harvey and let's see what else we get. I mean, I do like Booty, though, if you like him.
I do. I'm scared because he plays on the perimeter. He's going to get more Patrick Surtain. That's the only thing. And he's the more of the downfield presence. And is Drake May going to need to push the ball downfield? That remains to be seen. So I would still hold out hope for Stephon Diggs or Pat Bryant there.
Our next spin's got to be better than what we got, right?
Well, you would think, but it turns out no. So, okay. Oh my gosh, Kyle, this is bad. I don't want Kyle Williams. I don't want little Jordan Humphrey, who basically dropped the touchdown last week. Don't want McLaughlin. I prefer Ramondre Stevenson to TreVeyon Henderson, and I think we have to have Drake May. So the only one I would potentially lock is TreVeyon Henderson because he's there with a pulse. That's really it. But really, if we look at this, we've already locked in RJ Harvey. The other running backs available to us are McLaughlin, Henderson, and Stevenson. There's a chance we get Stevenson up there, but with our luck, do we not lock in Henderson? We get McLaughlin up in that running back spot, and then we're really screwed. So maybe we do have to lock in Henderson there just to preserve another top tier player in this game, and then hope for the best with the other spots.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I know what I just said about TreVeyon, but at this point, with one spin left, the risk versus reward is not worth it. Let's get a guy, and maybe he pops a 50-yard touchdown for us to help us out. He's capable of doing that. So at this point, this game, one spin left. Let's lock both these running backs, RJ Harvey and TreVeyon.
And just in case he doesn't come up, I will say the guy that I'm kind of intrigued by for Denver is Evan Ingram. Tight ends can get to New England a little bit. We'll have to see if it happens here. And maybe Stidham has an eye for the tight end. So that's kind of my sleeper there. We do get Drake May. We do get Cortland Sutton and Ramondre Stevenson and Hunter Henry. So, hey, last spin, best spin. That's what they say, right?
Yeah, exactly. I love the way that last spin worked out for us because now this whole lineup, I love it. This is capable of maybe winning it because we got really good starters for this lineup. I'm a fan of that last spin. Thank God that worked out for us.
Hey, what's the saying? You got the first two spins walked, so the final spin could run. That's what happened there. So we got some studs there. So now we got to do a pick 'em. We got to pick at least 3 players total, 1 from each team. So looking at the players we got here, which players are you most confident in going over their projected point total here?
Hunter Henry for sure. I think he can get past that 11.3. Drake May really looks at him, especially down in the goal line. And, I do like Ramondre Stevenson. I know it feels a little high, 15.5, but if they're going to use him and they're going to get the offense going, it'll be Ramondre. So those 2 for sure. And we need one more.
We need a Bronco. So do you prefer Sutton or Harvey?
Oh, man. Let's go. Man, this one's tough, but man, this one's it is between Sutton and Harvey. I'm leaning towards Harvey. You got to go Harvey. You have to, because it's not Bo Nix at the quarterback spot. So let's go over there.
Yep. That's where I was. I was going Harvey as well. Just get enough done on the ground and catch some passes. I could easily see Sean Payton coming out wanting to ease Stidham into the game flow. Couple screen passes, little dump offs, and Stidham's probably going to not take a page out of CJ Stroud's playbook and not try to do too much, which could be dumped down to RJ Harvey, and that should play quite well. So we'll do those 3 picks to try to 5x our entry there for the AFC Championship game. So let me ask you here before we go to the NFC, who do you got winning? And what is it? Who is the AFC participant in the big game, the Superb Owl, if you will?
Yeah, I'm probably like the masses. I'm taking the New England Patriots here. If it was Bo Nix, they got a better shot, but without Bo, that's it. It's going to be New England probably representing the AFC.
Fair enough. So let's kick it on over to the NFC, the game I'm really excited for. Rams, Seahawks, Stafford, Darnold, the 3rd time these teams are playing, and there's been no shortage of excitement in either of the first 2 matchups. I know the Seahawks are a little banged up along the offensive line, so we'll have to see if any of the multiple tackles that they have are going to be able to play. But talking about this game, who are the matchups? Everyone knows JSN and Puka. If we get them, we're locking them in. But who are some of the other guys we're looking at? What are the matchups looking to exploit? Talk to me about this game.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford is the quarterback I want for obvious reasons, right? Front runner MVP, led the league in passing yards and touchdowns. But when we look at the 2 games that he played against the Hawks, week 11, he did struggle. 130 passing yards, but he still managed 2 touchdowns. And most recently, we all remember the barn burner, where he torched them, throwing the ball nearly 50 times, 3 TD passes, 457 in the air. Not expecting that kind of game here in the NFC Championship game, but maybe something between the two, like a 260-yard game for him, 3 scores maybe. So yeah, Matthew Stafford's a guy that I really hope to get. I'll hold out for him. If we get him on the first spin, lock that in. Of course, the Pukas of the world, even Devontae Adams, I'd like to get. Kyren Williams too. The run game's a little bit underrated. PFF has him as a top 5 run game on the ground there. So I really like that. And even if we want to pivot and we get a Blake Corum, I'm cool with that. He gets a lot of touches as well. He gets 8, 9, maybe 10 touches in the game. He's another guy that maybe not a lot of people will be on. They're going to prefer Kyren Williams, but I'll take Blake Corum if we get a crack at it.
I like Seattle receivers, and I like Ken Walker. I'm thinking another multi-touchdown week for him. I think I am. I'll tell you this way. I am so upset he's not going to be a Houston Texan next year because of Zach Charbonnet's injury, and Seattle might do a little bit more to keep him around. I am super stoked to see him in this matchup. So honestly, again, just like this game, I really like the running backs in this game. It just happens to be that way. So you already said if we get Stafford on the first spin, we're locking him in. So we're just going to go ahead and put him in there. We get his favorite target inside the 10, which is Devontae Adams. Quiet postseason for him, though, thus far. A couple grabs against Carolina, then virtually non-existent in that cold affair with Chicago. So let me say it this way. Do you think Devontae Adams finds the end zone here in the NFC Championship game?
I think I do. This game should be on the higher scoring of the of the slate. I like his chances. I know, like you said, it's been a little bit rough, but I hate to say the cliche that he's due, but Devontae Adams is definitely due. And the red zone targets are self-explanatory. When they get down in there, he looks to them. I do think he can find the end zone in this matchup. So yeah, I like the stack there.
When someone's playing someone for the third time, can we still call it a Cooper Kupp revenge game at this point on the third matchup now of a particular season?
I think throughout the whole season, it's a revenge game, right? It doesn't matter how many times you play. He wants to do well in this.
Would you lock in Cooper Kupp then?
We got 2 spins left?
2 spins left. We still have Puka, JSN available, Ken Walker, Kyren.
See, you're talking like that. I want to hold out. I want to wait. I want to keep the Stafford and Adams, even save Blake Corum. I want to see what we get on this next spin.
Yeah, fair enough. So we'll take Stafford and Adams after spin number 1. We'll go to spin 2, and we get Ken Walker.
There we go.
Cooper Kupp. Oh, and Kyren comes up, and Rashid Shaheed. Okay, so now it gets a little bit interesting because we have 2 locks that we can use. We both kind of talked up Ken Walker and Kyren, liking them. But Kupp is interesting. Shaheed is interesting. There's another world where you could say, like, hey, this is the lineup we're going to take into battle. You're also going into it with no JSN and no Puka. But what happens if you lock in Ken Walker and, let's say, Kyren, and we do our next spin, and it's Terrence Ferguson and Xavier Smith?
Yeah, Colby.
A lot of moving pieces here, Kyle. So what are we thinking? Who are the locks? What are we doing? Do we risk it on the final spin? How would you approach this?
Colby, I have played this so many times. I've been in this predicament so many times that I have learned if you like the 6 and you got 1 spin left,
true,
you don't risk it. You don't risk it because you're going to get guys like you just said that you don't want in your lineup. Yes, we don't have Puka, but you know what? If Devontae Adams gets 2 touchdowns, right, which is plausible, then we're looking really good in this. And I like Shaheed as the deep threat too as well. Kenneth Walker, man, you mentioned it earlier. What a huge workload I'm expecting him to have without Charbonnet. I feel good about locking this in. This is a good one.
All right. Well, I don't have to convince me. It'll be interesting. It's one of those things too where we've seen it on contests on FantasySpin that tend to be more of the showdown style, where there's basically one game that we're picking from. You can win without the stud. I know I've referenced this numerous times, but back in week 12 or whatever it was, Davis Mills was in the winning lineups over Josh Allen because Davis Mills did better. There was one on a Thursday night where if you didn't have Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys, you didn't win that week because he had all those field goals. We've seen it with Kaimi Fairbairn, and says that even on Sunday main events, kickers have been in winning lineups just because of the way it shakes out. So who's to say Puka goes 4 for, I don't even know if Puka can go 4 for, he always ends up more anyway. Puka could get like 12 points and not be one of the top 7 players on this slate. Because what if Kyron finds end zone, Quorum does, Shaheed runs a kickback and has a 50-yard touchdown? Because this Rams secondary is bad, really bad. I made a joke. My wife's a Rams fan. We were sitting there watching it, and I was like, you have 2 first-round picks next year. You guys have to do what the Eagles did a few years back when they went Quinion and Cooper DeJean. You take 2 cornerbacks and you fix that secondary. That's what you need to do. And that secondary is so bad. So who's to say Shaheed doesn't break off a long one? Cooper Kupp in the quote-unquote revenge game, if we can still call it that. We'll probably call it that again next year. And Ken Walker's coming off an insane performance that I wish was going to make him a lot of money, but it just depends now if Seattle can get him for a little cheaper.
I mean, the over-under on Kenneth Walker, Colby, 22 carries. What do you got?
Oh,
over, right?
Yeah, because it's Velus Jones is going to be the RB2 and maybe the Helani, if he gets a couple carries, which it would be so fitting for Seattle just to like get to the red zone. First red zone carry goes to Ken Walker. That'd be so fitting and so infuriating at the same time. I wouldn't even know what to do. It'd be one of those situations where it's like, I'm not shocked and I'm upset that I'm not shocked by it. And it's incredibly infuriating.
Yeah, we'll be messaging each other saying, "Yep, of course that of course that happens."
Yep, absolutely. That's how it always shakes out. So we got to do a pick 'em here again. We need at least 1 Ram, 1 Seahawk, 3 players total. Which players are we taking to go over their projected total on the screen? Who do you got?
For sure we're going Kenneth Walker there with 14.4. That's a smash.
Yep.
And Matthew Stafford 21.4.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
And then what do we need?
Now it's pick of the litter, whichever one you like the most.
So Shaheed with 9 fantasy points. That man, it's a low number, but he could end up with 4 or 5. I don't know if we want to go over the 9 and get the double digits. The Kyron Williams at 17.5 is a little high as well. Oh man, these lines are pretty tough. These ones are really, really hard to guess. I feel like, man, I guess Kyron Williams is 17.5, but it's such a high number, right?
Yeah, I really want to go Cooper Kupp, but I'm looking at his recent production, and he's only gone over 9 in like 2 of his last 5 or 6 games, so I don't like that. Shaheed, you're banking on a touchdown at some point because he's not a possession guy in this offense. Kyron's going to need touchdowns. It's tough to run against Seattle. And Devontae
Adams is probably going to need 2 touchdowns to beat that, right? Because he's just really mainly used down in the red zone at this point. Like he's not catching a deep ball at this point.
Yeah, and it's just like in the playoffs too. It's just the issues that we've seen in the regular season with the efficiency with Stafford aren't there. Like I'm looking at it here. He's caught 7 of 19 targets in the postseason, and the play action game hasn't been working well for the Rams. So if they sit on that, like Adams 5 for 72 against Carolina, that doesn't get us there. And then 2 for 24 against Chicago, that doesn't get us there. In fact, I'm trying to do like super quick math looking at this. I don't think he has a game this year over 15 points without scoring a touchdown.
Wow.
Like we've seen Puka do it where he goes freaking 10 for 130 with no touchdown. It doesn't even matter. But looking at it here with even some of Adams' biggest games, 5 for 88, but no touchdowns. That's only 13 points. That doesn't get us there. 5 for 72 doesn't get us there. 4 for 71. So it's basically, if he scores a touchdown, he's probably getting there, but without it, he's not. But no, going back to what you said. You said he's scoring. So
okay,
we're doing Devontae Adams. So,
and you know what? And it makes sense. If we're going to take Stafford at 21.4, it makes sense to actually go to Devontae Adams.
Well, because Stafford sure as hell ain't getting there without touchdowns because he doesn't run. Like I'm pretty sure every week on the sports books, he's like half a rushing yard or 1.5 rushing yard, and all you're doing is praying that he gets like a 4-yard scramble and then doesn't have to go in victory formation and take the L on the rushing yards.
Yep.
But we'll see that. So, all right, you got the Patriots in the AFC. You're with the masses there. I don't know if there's a with the masses on this pick, but who's the NFC representative in the big game?
I said the LA Rams from the very beginning of the season. There's no reason for me to come off of that now. So I'll stick with the LA Rams. They're the number 1 offense in the NFL. I'm going to roll with that. I know normally defense, wins these kind of games, but you know what? I know the Rams beat the Titans with the number 1 team in the NFL. So on offense. So I'm going to stick with that and go with the Rams again as the number 1 offense.
Fair enough. Rams, Patriots for you. I am in agreement with you. I'm going Rams, Patriots as well in the big game. So that'll be the breakdown. That's what you need to know. Make sure you go back if you missed if you came in late or whatever, you just want to go back, check it out, rewind, catch our talk on the AFC Championship game, the players that you need to know. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel here for Fantasy Spin so you get notified. I have some pretty cool things in the works coming up for the big game. So keep your eyes and ears peeled out for that. And Kyle, obviously, they can give you a follow on X at KZ1180. But anything else you want to promote, hype up, any content you got, anything that you want to share, the floor is yours.
Yeah, shortly after the Super Bowl, I'll come back for Fantasy and Frames and do some Dynasty Risers and Faller articles. So if you guys do play Dynasty, check me out at Fantasy and Frames, and I'll be writing some Dynasty Risers and Fallers like I did last year. I'm going to continue the trend. I had a lot of fun doing that. So look for that as well. So, I don't know, maybe a month after the Super Bowl sometime, I'll get back to it.
Fair enough. Take that time. Hey, players get off season, so do fantasy analysts as well. And once again, over on X at KZ1180. You can find me on X at Colby R. Conway. Seriously, guys, no better time to spin to win than right now over on Fantasy Spins. Make sure you download the Fantasy Spin app. There's golf, college basketball. College football is now done, but there's still football, basketball is going on. And for you baseball fanatics like me, baseball is right around the corner. So no better time to spin to win than right now. Head over to the Google Play or the Apple App Store, download the Fantasy Spin app today, and we will see you on the leaderboard. What's up, y'all? Hope you enjoyed the content. For the avoidance of doubt, please note that I, Colby Conway, am a DFS player entering these contests under the username Colby Conway. The strategies and recommendations in this video do not necessarily reflect the views of Fantasy Spin. Please play responsibly and visit fantasyspin.com/responsible gaming to take advantage of Fantasy Spin's responsible gaming resources.